Well, hello there, and what I'm looking at today is media celebrities. Bit of a strange title really, because it kind of doesn't make sense, does it? Because a celebrity is by definition a person whose image is being created by the media, but there's a reason for it, as you'll discover as we go on. So first of all, I'm going to let you know who the celebrities are that I've chosen to put under my microscope. Donald Trump, Kate Moss and Hillary Clinton. Right, they're the ones we're going to have a look at. So first thing I do is I get a sense from what I've been exposed to in the media over a considerable period of time. They've all been known for a long time, these figures, that's why I've chosen them. And so I'm going to start off with Kate Moss, paradoxically. So the thing about Kate Moss, my overall media impression summed up in one word, and the word is cokehead. Someone who takes lots of cocaine. That's the general picture I picked up from the media. And I've been following Kate Moss for a considerable period of time. Like many people, I was stunned by her beauty. But when I looked at images of her, I could see a lot more than just that. And so I had this sense of her being much more than what was being portrayed in the media, but the media label definitely cokehead. And I'm aware, of course, that when it comes to celebrities, the main thing about them is you mostly know about celebrities by listening to other people's opinions of them, and that's what I wanted to get away from. Now, I was aware that Kate is a person that is very rarely interviewed, so I thought, this is interesting. It's going to be tricky, actually, to find out her opinions about things and about herself, because she's not someone that's known for giving them. And so I thought, let's just do it. So I went into YouTube and I did Kate Moss interviews, and there were a few, not a lot, but there were some. And the next thing I thought, do I want to see something from so many years ago? No, of course I don't. And as much as I wouldn't want someone to form an opinion about me from so many years ago, it's who I am now that matters. I feel that's the same about her. So I managed to find one relatively recent. You'll see the link in the description. And wow. Yes. I guess it's the Kate I've always known, loved and appreciated. Because the first thing that struck me is her down-to-earth ordinariness, which I always liked about her. She has this combination of being beautiful and ordinary, and it's a very special, rare combination, I feel. And then she started to speak about different things, and I got to grasp her philosophy, and that fascinated me. So here's her first one, which I do love. And it's as follows: don't complain, don't explain. Now, when I looked at her speaking in this interview, I could see that this is a person who's really been through a lot. And it's not all been moonlight and roses. There's been some really challenging times she's been through. That's very, very clear. And yet that's what her philosophy boils down to, is don't complain, don't explain. And it makes perfect sense, because don't complain means accepting everything, life, all of it, and everyone is exactly as it is. That's interesting. And then the next one, don't explain. I think this is such a sound thing for anyone who's in the public spotlight, because there's going to be an infinity of people that are going to have opinions about you and what you did and what you didn't do and why did it and why didn't do it. And if you go into the line of explaining, It's never going to end, is it? And also, it's really not having respect for your unique journey. So, in a sense, I see in that Don't Explain, she's got this appreciation of the uniqueness of her personal journey, which is something we could all benefit from having. Let's face it, we've all have these extraordinary unique journeys, so let's just appreciate them. Why don't we? And I just feel I'm drawn to that tree stump because not so long ago it grew all over the pathway. It's been cut off and it just looked like it was dead, and you've got all this new growth. Somehow it is symbolic of what's going on in the world at the moment. Someone's cut the tree off at the trunk and the tree's having none of it. It's coming back to life. I like that. So that's her philosophy first of all, and then the final one which she came up with, and particularly referring to her daughter. Her daughter is now of the age that she was when she was thrown into the world spotlight, and so this is what she's come up with, which particularly refers to her daughter and to everyone really, which is and I do like this: everything passes. Whatever's going on, this too shall pass. She didn't put it like that, but everything passes. Everything changes, everything moves on. So if you're having a hard time, just remember it's not forever. So I love that. So my exploration to her and my conclusions from watching the interview, but also just tuning in, I felt real respect for her as a human being. Right, so let's have a look at the next one now. So the next one, Donald Trump. Now this is interesting because I've been exposed to very little information from him from the media. But I guess there was one word that came through. I never watched any of his interviews. I didn't watch television, don't watch the news like at all. So very little to go on. But the word that I would have had would have been the word buffoon, without a doubt. Or joke. Things like that. Buffoon, joke. Well, it was time for me to do my research on this character next. And so I did. And so I did the kind of thing I just don't really tend to do at all. That's right. I actually watched a couple of interviews, and one of them was his visit to the UK, and another one was supposed to be his 60 of the most dramatic, exciting things he'd ever said, whatever. And I was very surprised because I was expecting this absurd figure of fun, this joke, and actually what I was picking up on was rather different. Now, I'm not 3 years old, so I don't have to agree with everything that someone says to form an opinion of them. But what I do want to do is I want to have a sense of who they are. And what I noticed, the more of this, and I didn't do this much, just 2 interviews, that was all. One clipped from a whole load of interviews, another the entire thing from beginning to end. And what I noticed was actually one word. The word that came through to me was sobriety, and that surprised me. Sobriety. So that was interesting. So what I want to explain now is with both of these, apart from the listening with my ears, what I've been doing much more, and this applies to all the 3 people I'm speaking about, what I've been doing much more than that is actually been sensing in, getting a sense of that person. And so with Kate it was a sense of someone to respect with a good heart who's been through a lot. With Donald Trump, it was the surprise of the sobriety. Really hadn't expected that. So let's get to the third one. Third one, Hillary Clinton. Well, again, I apologise because I have very little information from the news to understand these celebrities I'm referring to, but I would say I got a bit of a confused picture about her. First thing I came across, well, okay, possible future woman president, okay, woman politician. Didn't really have a lot more to go on than that. And then there was one thing I caught during the election campaign about threatening war. So a possible warmonger came in there as well. But it really wasn't much to go on. So I thought, well, come on then. So I got out the iPad and did a YouTube search. And you can see what came up. Oh, this is in the description underneath. And I started to watch. Instantly I felt sick. And I wondered, why do I feel so sick? Didn't get this reaction from the other two. This is something on the visceral level. This is really quite deep. I actually feel physically sick. And then I did notice in one of them that when there was she and Trump are both being interviewed in this one, at this particular point Trump is speaking and she's waiting her turn. Except she wasn't waiting her turn. She was doing something with her mouth and her face that was really sickening, and I didn't know how to. I still don't know how to explain it. But that's how I felt. I felt sick. And I would say this: out of the 3 people I was sensing into, this is the one that absolutely could not be trusted. Absolutely not to be trusted. So that's been my little experience of media celebrities. And what I'm suggesting is, if you want to form any opinion about anyone in the media, be aware that the media is a tainted source. You can't believe anything that is said, because as anyone who makes YouTube films knows, if you edit your films, which I don't do, but they used to be edited for me by Dan, when films are edited, you cut out what you want and you leave in what you want, and that gives you the ability to completely manipulate the narrative. So the story can be totally manipulated by what is left out and what is left in, and the way something is cut. So I know personally that the media is not to be trusted because they edit, of course they do, and they can create exactly whatever impression they want. And I find it's much less interesting to get hooked in with the words and my intellect, and I find it much more interesting just to kind of open up my senses and see how I feel. What kind of feelings do I pick up from that person? And it's been a revelation, so thanks very much for listening.